Hi, this is Regina Davis, NARUC's Assistant Executive Director, and I'm joined today by Chris Guttman McCabe, who's the Chief Regulatory and Communications Officer for Anterix. Now, Chris, I understand that you joined Anterix as the Chief Regulatory and Communications Officer in October of 2020.
Correct.
And so you were designated to lead the government relations and communications efforts to support the company's vision of 900 megahertz private broadband for the utility, critical infrastructure, and enterprise sectors. Correct?
Correct. Spot on.
That's a lot. That's a big task.
That is.
So you also serve on the board of the Gridwise Alliance, which means you're a very busy person.
Yes. And have two young daughters. So absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You're really busy.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's always great to be able to have the opportunity to sit down and chat with folks from Anterix. I've had several conversations with Anterix representatives over the years, and I always walk away from these conversations learning a lot. So I do appreciate the time that you're taking to chat today.
Certainly.
And of course, I'd be remiss by not thanking you also for Anterix's ongoing support of NARUC's and its meetings. It's one of our top sponsors.
We're certainly proud, Regina, proud and happy we've been able to do it for a while.
Yeah, it's been a great opportunity for all of us. Now, before I jump into this little segment, I guess we could kind of underscore this by calling this the Get a Grip interview, because
I like that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the grid resilience and innovation partnerships to kick it off. So I understand that the federal GRIP funding is coming available soon, and we've been hearing from panelists at past NARUC events for more than a year now about what the funding is and what it means for states and also for utilities. But right now, can you share with us how utility private wireless networks could be a good fit for the GRIP funding?
Yeah, certainly, Regina. And first of all, thank you again for having me. I'm excited to be here and have this discussion with you. So I think the way I would start is I would talk about the GRIP funding, but in the context of the previous large tranche of funding that became available a little more than 10 years ago. We had the ARRA funds.
Right.
And when those came out, I think it's fair to say the economy was in tatters, right? The economy was on fire, and the administration made a decision to really push money out the door. And the goal was to get it out the door quickly, really to stimulate and get a push into the economy. This is different. This legislation came out, the IIJA, the bipartisan infrastructure legislation, and now the programs that all fall into the GRIP tranche of money that's going to come out. This is happening at a different time. And what we're excited about, and we've had conversations with the Department of Energy, and we've had conversations with some of the regulators throughout the states that are NARUC members. What we're excited about is the opportunity for something transformational, that there's money that can be deployed to do something with the grid that truly transforms it and makes it more modern. And when you look at sort of the core elements of the legislation, particularly on the electricity side, you see words like resilience and decarbonization and electrification and cybersecurity and security. And as we think of words like that, you'll not be surprised that Anterix, a wireless broadband company that's focused on the utility sector, we see broadband underpinning all of that.
Okay.
And so if you look at it from a resilience or a redundancy perspective, the ability to have real-time operational intelligence and situational awareness. When you think of cybersecurity, the ability to build a communications platform with cybersecurity baked in, not bolted on after the fact. When you think of decarbonization and distributed energy, the ability to really deploy those new energy, decarbonized energy sources, and to do them in a way that the grid and the electric utilities understand what's happening with those resources, you're going to need to be able to in real time capture and analyze data. And then you think all of that is happening at a time where we're talking about the electrification of everything, right? The auto sector, buildings. We're talking about removing, older forms of carbon-based forms of heat generation and replacing them with electrification based on solar or wind or water. And then you think of everything that's happening in the auto sector. And again, underpinning all of it is communications. And the reality is that is going to require broadband. Really, the capture, the analysis, the action upon data is going to require broadband. We have it in our consumer lives. We're pushing for it as citizens and as regulators. We're pushing for broadband to every home, to every citizen. We should be doing the same thing with our utility sector. It's too critical. In fact, obviously, it's one of the critical sectors of our nation, of our economy, but it's too critical not to have broadband. And a key component of that, particularly at the edges of the grid, is going to be wireless broadband. And so when we look at the programs in the GRIP tranche of funding, we see words like technology. We see words like data analytics. We see words like secure communications. And we also see specifically words like wireless broadband. All of those fit within private LTE, the flavor of communications that we're helping to bring to market. It's the same technology that we use in our smartphones, except for under the scenario that we are advancing it, the utility has the ability to make it secure and to make it robust and to have control and priority over those communications. So we think there's a direct one-to-one alignment between what is in the BIL and particularly the GRIP programs and private LTE.
Wow, you've already kicked us off by giving us a lot to think about just in that one response.
Sure.
So building on what you just said, what types of use cases are you and Anterix seeing that really map well to the funding initiative?
Yeah, great question. So Anterix we have 4 customers right now. Just last week, we announced our 4th, Excel. We also have contracts with Ameren, Evergy, and San Diego Gas and Electric. So we're going to be, our private broadband is going to be in parts of 16 states. And so those utilities clearly have seen a range of use cases, and I'll talk about them in a minute. But we also have 16 experimental licenses at the FCC where utilities are using private LTE at 900 megahertz, so private broadband, private wireless broadband at 900 megahertz, and they're investigating a range of different needs that they have. So a really simple one, I think, to follow and understand is wildfire mitigation. So there's a fantastic company on the West Coast, Schweitzer Engineering Labs. They're well known in the utility sector. They have a capability called falling conductor. Falling conductor, when paired with the low latency of a private wireless communication system like LTE, it can de-energize a line that is broken before it hits the ground. So you think of that in the context of the wildfires that we've seen over the last 10 or 15 years, some of which have been initiated and caused by falling electric lines. The ability to de-energize that line as it's falling to the ground is transformational.
Yes.
And so that to me is an easy one to visualize. San Diego Gas and Electric has talked and said to the state of California that will be part of their initial deployment of their private LTE, that use case. But there are so many others. I mean, you look at sort of telemetry and sensors at the edge that can tell you the performance of the both the distribution and the transformer lines as well. That there's an ability to understand in real time what's happening with those transmission lines, what's happening with those distribution lines, and we're seeing those use cases. We also have an experimental license with the National Renewable Energy Lab in Golden, Colorado, and it's in partnership with 7 utilities. And we're looking at the integration of private broadband with the integration and advancement of secure, robust, but distributed energy. And so if there are new energy platforms out there that are not carbon centric, and utility has to understand what is happening with that distributed energy resource, they're going to need broadband. And so we're seeing, first, NREL did an initial threshold investigation, is private broadband secure and robust enough to support this? The answer was yes. And then they went into different permutations of the integration of distributed energy, and all of those turned out positive. So we're seeing a whole sort of range of use cases. But perhaps the easiest way to describe it is, if you put broadband into the utility, into the grid, into the electric grid, you can introduce things that we experience already in our business lives and in our home lives: cloud and edge computing, machine learning and artificial intelligence, augmented and virtual reality. You get to push these capabilities to the edge so that the entirety of the grid operations are understood. And all of those align with elements of the GRIP programs, and particularly with the IIJA and bipartisan infrastructure language.
Okay, so you touched on some important partnerships that you forged. So what other opportunities do you see for partnerships in general?
Yeah, certainly. This is a great industry. I come from the wireless industry. I spent 13 years at CTIA before I came over and joined Anterix. One of the things I truly love about the utility sector is that they work together, is that they partner together. They have fantastic organizations like EPRI, and we're doing a lot of good work with EPRI, where they investigate problems or needs, and they drive solutions. So we've done a great work with EPRI. We've done a lot of work with the Utility Broadband Alliance and with the Gridwise Alliance and others, and EEI. And then additionally, one of the things we did when we launched the company was we created an ecosystem of solutions developers. The idea was that it couldn't be just that a utility was going to deploy and utilize private LTE. They needed, as you referenced, sort of solutions. They needed to be able to address use cases. We now have 86 companies in our ecosystem, and those companies are helping us, and we are partnering with them to bring a range of solutions: advanced meters, line rating, cybersecurity. We have 7 cybersecurity vendors within that ecosystem. And so we see an opportunity to partner with all of them, and hopefully ultimately to partner with the Department of Energy as broadband gets deployed throughout the entire sector.
So I've heard Anterix talk about what is known as the network of networks. Now, can you explain to me and everyone else listening, what exactly is the network of networks?
Certainly, and it's a good question, and a lot of times we do get a smirk when someone thinks when we say that. If you look, let's take, for example, the 4 utilities that we have relationships with as of now. Mm-hmm. Each of them will deploy a private LTE network, an individual network within their footprint. What we think adds more than just incremental value to them is if there is a way to connect those networks, obviously in a very secure, very privacy-centric way. But if you can aggregate those individual networks up, the scale and scope benefits, the cybersecurity benefits, the physical security benefits, the benefits with mutual aid, all get more enhanced if you have a broader aggregated network of these individual networks. So it's a way of sort of tying them together, particularly as they are all deploying the same technology on the same band of spectrum. And we look at that, those benefits as growing even greater, the more utilities that come in. It's not unlike what we saw at the very beginning of the internet, mm-hmm. that the more people that came online, the greater the benefits everyone, the greater the scale of knowledge and experience that was brought to bear. We have a really cool, we call it our Utility Strategic Advisory Board. It works with Anterix and our 86 members of our active ecosystem, but that's made up of 6, soon to be 7 utility executives. And what they do is they help recognize and identify the utility needs and connect those needs and those goals with our active ecosystem. And to me, the larger the number of utilities that deploy at 900 megahertz, obviously the larger the number that will be part of that Utility Strategic Advisory Board, and the greater the network benefits, the network of networks benefits that will flow.
So sounds like there's definitely strength in numbers.
Definitely. And we, as I said, we certainly are seeing, there was a conference about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago in Southern California, the Utility Broadband Alliance. It had close to 500 utility thought leaders there. It was hosted by Southern California Edison. And the entire purpose was to investigate the future of private LTE and to look at the issues to help accelerate and move it forward, to unlock any impediments that might exist, and to really investigate and drive new use cases. So we're seeing scale grow, not only within our ecosystem, not only with our customer base, but even broader outside of that current existing customer base at places like UBBA.
Okay, I'm so glad that you just said the future of LTE, because I'm going to ask you to just look into your Anterix crystal ball and look 10 years into the future and tell us that if utilities really take hold of this great opportunity, what do things look like for the industry?
Yeah, thank you. I keep going back to, I have a particular thought and lens on this. I was at CTI, I was in the Wireless Trade Association when wireless broadband was introduced to the masses, to consumers, when we went from 2G to 3G. And 3G was our first real broadband. So it was beyond just voice and texting, it became the ability. And then all of a sudden we had smartphones and touchscreens. And then we had applications, apps. Nobody knew what an app was really before that. In fact, I think we commissioned a study when I was back at CTIA, and the consulting firm got it wrong in terms of the number of applications by a significant order of magnitude. I see that sort of transformation happening with the utility sector, that when broadband gets fully introduced, and it'll be fiber-based in certain areas, to substations and things like that, but it'll be secure wireless broadband pushed out to the edge. And I think with that will come just an unbelievable range of consumer and customer benefits. I see energy equity benefits as people in the farthest reaches of the grid that usually don't always have access to broadband and to things like that, all of a sudden have innovative products in their homes. I see security benefits, cybersecurity benefits. I see wildfire mitigation benefits. And I just see an unbelievable range of innovation and creativity. It does amaze me. We launched the ecosystem a little bit over a year ago with 37 members. We're almost triple that now. And so it's not just our vision, and certainly not just our vision, but it is the companies like the Motorola's and Nokia's and Ericsson's and Qualcomm's, but it's also the Itrons and the Schweitzers and the GE and Cisco and all of these innovators in the utility space. 10 years from now, with a broadband platform, I think the sky's the limit. And I think, I know that our regulators will understand the benefits of broadband because they see it at home, they see it in their office and at work. And I think when we introduce that at scale to the utility sector, it's going to be amazing.
Wow, you've really given us a lot to think about. And it sounds like we're venturing into a very exciting time that's exploding with lots of potential, lots of opportunity. But this means that regulators are really going to have to take a step back and really pay attention to what's happening, the processes, and also the effect on consumers.
Absolutely, absolutely. To me, and I hope Anterix wins the commercial battle. The need for broadband for our utilities is absolute, and the commissioners, state commissioners with whom we've spoken understand that, and we're constantly out there just talking about the general benefits of private, secure broadband, wireless broadband. It's coming, and the benefits will flow. And so, as utilities invest in this and bring these issues before their regulators, our goal is just to make sure that they understand really the fundamental changes from a positive perspective that are coming.
Okay. Is there anything else that I didn't touch on that you wanted to chat about while I have you?
No, I mean, I think Regina, I think this is spot on. Again, what we like is being at the cusp of this innovative wave, and we're founded by the team that founded Nextel, so they know what it means to really build a broadband secure wireless network. What we've done is we've taken those learnings, and we're now applying them to the utility sector, and we've got a great team led by a great group of executives. And we're really excited. We do understand that there's education work to be done,
right?
And we're doing that, at the different NARUC events. But we're also doing that at the federal level, and we see that education reflected in the language that we've discussed throughout this conversation. We see language interspersed throughout multiple sections, middle mile sections, resilience sections, flexibility sections of the legislation. And so we're excited for utilities to take advantage of that and to really accelerate the deployment of this amazing technology.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. It was my pleasure to chat with you, and once again to learn more about this exciting technology from Anterix. Thank you again for sponsoring the NARUC meetings and for being an active participant with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Regina. I appreciate it.